It's not. It's an actual wonderful piece of equipment. So if you want a bit bigger or a bit more elastic, you just pull it and you can grip it like that.
Just simple again.
Or in my case, all I've done is put a little bead on there so it actually grips it.
All right.
It grips it like that, so I can play it that way. So if I want to tighten it up a fraction, I can just tighten it up a little bit as I use it, like that. Just a little tight bead.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful, so it means that I can use even an 11 elastic, an 011 and an 18, with a lighter elastic, and when I'm playing the fish, I just shorten the elastic off if I hook a big fish.
How often do you change your elastics?
Well, I do probably a lot more fishing than most people, but so I change mine every month. Right. I never trust anything, but I do a lot of fishing. I would say every 2 or 3 months, but check it. I always check it, and the best way to check it is this. If you pull it out, if it's ever going to go, it's going to go that bit inside of the connector. Just wet your fingers and just pull it like that, and if you can feel anything, it needs changing. If you can't feel any little bits out of it, it's okay. Yeah. Simple as that.
Nice and easy. Okay, that's your first pole rig. You've got another couple set up.
And then hopefully, we're after the big boys down the side. And then what we do then, on this particular venue as well, when you're feeding them, you actually see them.
Right.
And you come in the side. When you can see them, you don't catch them. And a lot of people go on it too soon. As soon as they see them, they pick the shoulder and go in, and I love that, because you don't catch them. Yeah. You foul hook them and you don't catch them. You catch them when you don't see them.
Okay.
And that's usually in the last hour. 3 hours of the match, you never even look at it. I don't care if they're jumping out on the bank, you never pick it up. You catch your fish everywhere else. And then at 3 o'clock, if I'm not catching, I'll pick it up and I'll have a little chuck and a little play. And all this is, it's quite simple.
So this elastic's exactly the same on that one? Yeah.
I used to use the blue hollow, but I use green now again, so I can scale down to a 16 or a 14. And all that is a little Durafloat 10.
Yeah.
And it's a little Durafloat, it's not got an eye on the top, so it's not going to, the eye's not going to pull out or anything like that when you catch a big fish. And that is the best inside float on the market, a Duro 10. Yeah. I usually use 4x10s when it's very shallow, or 4x12s if it's a little bit deeper.
Right.
And nowadays I just put 3 or 4 little 10 shots on like that, just spread out, nice and smooth, so it drops in water. On this rig you can up it a little bit. Now I usually have an 017 bottom on.
Again, it's 15 centimetres?
It's 15 centimetres long, but I use a 14 PR28.
Right.
Down the side you can get away with being a little bit beefy. And you're in the last hour of the match when the fish are feeding more aggressively anyway. Yeah. So it's straightforward. It's not complicated. It's a Duro 10, 3 or 4 little shot, 15 centimetre up length, and a PR28. I always use a PR28 down the side.
Right. Excellent.
And I pick it up. What I do with this particular method, I pick it up at 3 o'clock and I have a quick look. And it's like the inside. People ask me, when do you go on the inside? When do you change off the method? Well, if you're catching on the method, just keep putting the fish in the net. Don't even worry about it, because like I said, the longer you can keep feeding, the more fish you'll get. Yeah. But what you do then is, when you're going to try it, you start on the 2+2. Yeah. You go in, you put your rig in the water, and if you don't get a bite in 2 minutes, bring it back out and put it back down. Don't waste 10 minutes, because the fish are not there yet. When the fish are there, you'll put it in and it'll go straight under, and you'll catch one. So if you're getting roached off, if you're getting skimmered off, or you don't get a bite, you come straight off it. Yeah. And you go back on the tip.
So you don't rotate your pole lines with that. You just
no. You always.
Okay.
And if you're catching, keep catching. I always believe is, don't risk anything if you're catching. But the secret is, when that goes under and you catch one, they'll not go then. You'll be catching them rest of the match. You'll not have to do anything else. Yeah. But the key is timing. When do you go on that particular spot? That's the tip.
That's always the secret, isn't it? Yeah.
And it's the same as the inside. I see people first cast go down the side, and I go, what are you doing? Yeah. You're not going to catch. You might catch 1, you might catch 2, but to catch the big weights, you've got to feed it up and make them come into your peg.
What's the third rig?
That's just a duplicate.
Okay.
Of this, because I always have carp fishing or commercial fishing. I always have duplicates. I have 2 of everything set up in case there's a problem. Because what you got to remember is, especially the inside, I might have 3. If I know I'm on a good inside peg, I might have 3 set up. Because there's nothing worse getting towards the end of the match and you break off or something like that. You can pick a rig straight up and go back in. There's nothing worse than that.
I have to say the rigs are pretty simple.
Fishing is simple, Dave.
I'm not going to let you start fishing it. Let's have a look at bait first, and then I'll let you have another go today.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
Now, all the fisheries we go to out of the country, they've all got this different rules, different bait limits and everything like that. It's a nightmare at times for us. Whiteacres is no different. But I look at it this way, as long as it's the same for everybody, that's all that matters. Now down here at Whiteacres we're allowed 8 units, which is a unit is one of those. So we're allowed 8 of them, but only 4 units of any one bait. So most of the time we have to fish as match in the car park. What I mean by that, you've got to think of your match, how you're going to fish it, and prepare your bait in your car or in your lodge for your peg.
It's difficult sometimes, isn't it,
It's
getting
very
that
difficult.
right? Because
It's
if you've
very
chosen
difficult.
wrong...
Sometimes you can't do anything about it.
I mean, here, I don't see any maggots, I don't see any casters, and if someone next to you starts catching on casters, you're in trouble, aren't you?
One of the problems people do make is they have too many baits, like a pint of that, a pint, and they don't have enough bait to fish a 5-hour match. So what I try and do, and especially when I drew here peg 10, it made it easy for me because I had to have an attacking allowance. My bait units and everything were quite simple. 4 meat, 4 pellet, finished.
Yeah.
It was as simple as that for me. Now the trouble is, you can't always feed 3 swims with 4 units of bait. It's impossible. So I've got to work it out in my head. Where am I going to put my pellets and where am I going to put my meat?
Right.
And I knew straight away what I was going to do. I was going to fish meat on my 2 pole lines on the inside and at 2+2, and my pellets, which were 2 mils or micros and 6 mils. And the reason why I've got them is for the method feeder, I was going to put the micros on, and for in case it were a splashy waggler or anything like that, and I needed to fire pellets to the far bank, I've got them 6s.
The options are covered, aren't they?
I had 4 meat, including my hookers, and I've got 1.5 units of 6, and I will have 2 units of micros in a bit with my hook baits.
Right.
And you're allowed 2 kilos of ground bait, but they won't catch on ground bait, so at that particular time it wasn't necessary.
Right.
So it's all prepared, it's all cut into quarter, my meat, but my micros need preparing, and it's very important that you get these right. It's very difficult, it's very easy to get it wrong, sorry. You've got to get this right. If they're going on a method feeder, they've got to be right, and it's quite simple. There's 2 ways of doing it.
Right.
One, you can cover them in water. If it's a 2 mil or a 4 mil, that's how long you cover them with. 2 minutes, 4 minutes for a 4 mil, and then drain the water straight out.
Right.
But I haven't been doing that, I've been using a different technique. What I've been doing, I've been covering them with water, but only just so it settles down. So you can just lap the pellets, and then I'll leave it. Just leave it, and it's the first thing I do when I get to my peg. In the winter...
Oh, you don't do this on the morning or the night before?
No, I do it, as you can see, I've got 3/4 of a unit. If I had it full, they'd be expanding it, because what I want them pellets to do is expand.
Right.
So you can do it in your caravan if you want, or you can do it at your peg. In the winter you have to do it the day before, because I want all that water to soak into them pellets, and what they become is like a little expander.
Yeah.
They actually soak all the water, and they're absolutely beautiful. The fish at this particular moment love them. They actually love these little, turn into a little, you can see them turning into like a little expander now. Yeah. And they'll just stick. In 10 or 15 minutes when they absorbed all the water, you can see that they're sticking already. Yeah. That'll go round the method. And that's all that you do. All I do with that then is I get a lid, take it off that, put it on that, and just leave them. Yeah. And I just put them in there. And that is about 3/4 of a 2-pint unit, and that'll expand so there's 2 pints.
It's totally simple, isn't it?
It's as really simple as that. I've tried to keep it as simple as I can on this particular peg. And that's my bait.
Hook baits.
The hook baits are, I've got some soft hook pellets, fish meal 6 mils, which I can, I can air rig. I've got some, if I want to band, just some harder ones, and I've got some white boilies, and I've got different sizes of white boilies, which I'll change during the match. If I'm catching smaller carp, I'll put a 4 or a 6 on, but usually it's an 8 or a 10, to be honest with you. And all I want to do then is I want the pellets around my feeder. I want one of them inside the feeder. I'll show you how to do that later. And I've just got to work out which is going to be the best on the day, the quickest. And it can be different, every day will be different, but there'll be one of them will be quicker. And I'll have them set up on my tray all ready, just so I can clip off the quick change stop. And that's my bait for the day, simple.
Shall we go and catch some fish?
That'll do for me. I'll take my bait with me.
Okay, Tom, it's the start of the match. I think this is the bit that confuses a lot of people. It's like, how do you go about feeding your swim, and how do you start? Right. How did you start that day?
It's quite simple, really. I've picked my 3 lines. I've picked the 2+2, my feeder line, and down the side. I like to mark them spots, if that makes sense. I like to mark them so I'm quite happy where I'm going to fish, and then I know where I'm going to be feeding the rest of the match. Right. So first thing I do, I just get my pot, And I'd already decided that my pellets are going over